Hey guys, welcome back to Game Talk 24/7. Today is Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. Boy, do we have a great weekend of the NFL playoffs. Jarrett Stidham and the Broncos taking on Drake May and the Patriots. The Seahawks battling it out with the Rams. We had a great weekend of college basketball. Auburn beating Florida. Texas Tech beating Houston. And so much more. We also have some NFL coaching hires, head coaching hires, offensive coordinator hires. We also have a new offensive coordinator for the Ohio State. And we're going to discuss all of that right here on Game Talk 24/7. Before we get to that, please like and subscribe. Don't forget to like the video and hit the subscribe button down below. It really means a lot. It really helps out the channel. Also, leave a comment down below letting us know if you think Shedeur Sanders should be in the Pro Bowl, because he is in the Pro Bowl. And that actually leads into our first segment. Somehow Shedeur Sanders is in the Pro Bowl after him being in his rookie season going 3-4, not being great. Obviously, somehow he is now a replacement for someone who opted out of the Pro Bowl. Should he have been in the Pro Bowl, or should someone else have been in the Pro Bowl? That is a great question. I don't think he earned it. Let's just look at his stats. I actually haven't even pulled up his stats because I didn't even think about talking about this until I then kind of forgot. He became a Pro Bowl. He became someone who's going to participate in the Pro Bowl. He has thrown this season for 120 completions on 212 attempts with a 56.6 completion percentage, 1,400 yards, 6.6 average, 7 touchdowns, 10 receptions. Somehow we're letting that be a Pro Bowl quarterback. I don't know how. I get it. He has a big name. He is Deion Sanders' son. He has the last name Sanders. He's a big name. Guess what, though? He didn't earn the Pro Bowl. I get it. He wasn't the first choice. He's a replacement. Still, a replacement should be good enough to have been able to earn being nominated for being a Pro Bowl invitee in the first place, and he wasn't. He wasn't invited to the Pro Bowl in the first place. He wasn't even an option. And the only reason he is there is because he's replacing someone who was invited. I don't think he earned it. I mean, especially when you throw 7 touchdowns to 10 receptions and a 56.6 completion percentage, that was terrible. That's not great. I mean, it was his rookie year. He went 3-4. He started 7 games. He doesn't have a lot of help with them on the Browns, because Jerry Jeudy's a good receiver. He was a good receiver, but he's not great. He's also not been great as of late. Then you have the tight end for the Browns. What was it, Harold Fannin? Is that his name? You had the tight end, Harold Fannin Jr. and David Njoku. But in general, he didn't have a lot of help. So I can understand that point of view. But still, he shouldn't be a quarterback in the Pro Bowl. Like, come on. Is it a joke? Are we joking here? Is the Pro Bowl a joke? Is that what this is? Are we making the Pro Bowl a joke of, hey, you have a big name, you can play in it? Okay. Like, what are we doing? I mean, I don't dislike not Deion. Deion's is dead. I don't dislike Shedeur. I don't think I think he could have potential to be a decent quarterback. Maybe when I say decent, I mean like maybe a top 20, top 15 quarterback in the NFL. Maybe. But he's got a long way to go to get to that. So why should he be not a starting quarterback, but why should he be a quarterback in the Pro Bowl? He's not the starting quarterback in the Pro Bowl, but why should he be a quarterback in the Pro Bowl? That's just one question I have. I find it kind of insulting if I'm an NFL quarterback that's not in the Pro Bowl that should be. I'd kind of find it insulting if he's in and I'm not. But you know what? It's just the Pro Bowl. It's not the same way it used to be. It's not the Pro Bowl game. It's flag football. It's not as exciting as it used to be. I mean, it's still good, and the events are still great that they do. I always love it. I always enjoy it. The flag football game is fun to watch, but it's not as exciting as it used to be. But you know what? It's still going to be fun. Shedeur Sanders, though, is in the Pro Bowl now, replacing someone who had to opt out. You have Mike McCarthy becoming the head coach of the Steelers. Boy, if you're a Steelers fan, how do you feel about that? Because you get a head coach who's no longer the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys because, well, he got fired. They weren't doing great under him. They'd make the playoffs every now and then, but then they'd sell in the playoffs. How do you feel, though? It's a coach that has not had tremendous success in the NFL, I would say. I mean, you're getting a coach that most people did not want and has not, again, had tremendous success in the NFL. And so the question is, will he be the right coach for you? Would you rather have had him over Mike Tomlin? Because, I mean, he has 18 seasons of experience, and he has a 60.8% win percentage. Not terrible, going 174 and 112-2. And he has a Super Bowl title. But recently, he hasn't had as much success. There's a reason why the Cowboys parted ways. He's not bad. And he's guided teams to 12 postseason appearances, including 8 straight with the Green Bay Packers from 2009 to 2016. But is he the coach that you want for the Steelers? For instance, he won a Super Bowl in 2010. What year are we in? 2026. That is 16 years ago. What has happened since then? A lot. Done good. Also done bad. There's a reason why he was fired from the Dallas Cowboys. In 2021 and 2023, he guided the Cowboys to 3 consecutive 12-win seasons and being in the playoffs, but they never did anything in those playoffs. It's not what you want. In my opinion, if I'm the Steelers, if I'm the Steelers, it's not what I would want. He's 49-35 from 2020 to 2024 with the Dallas Cowboys, going 1-3 in the playoffs. 1-3 in the playoffs. I want a quarterback, not a quarterback. Well, you need a quarterback. I want a head coach who can win me a Super Bowl and not go 1-3 in the playoffs in the last 2020 to 2024. So the last 4 seasons he's coached, because he didn't coach this past season. And so I don't know what they're thinking, but I'm not their front office. In my opinion, there were better head candidates out there. Now, does that mean there are other head candidates who had more experience than him? No. But there were other head candidates out there that they could have taken that they did not. Like, for instance, before Jesse Minter went to the Ravens, they could have tried to get him. Phillip Rivers was interviewing for the Bills job. If you really think Phillip Rivers is going to be a good head coach in the NFL, you could try to get him. I think he has the ability to be. He just doesn't have the experience. You have Joe Brady, who's now going to be the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills. They're finalizing a 5-year deal. Joe Brady, you could have went to him. There's so many other options. You could have kept Mike Tomlin, who is also a Super Bowl winning head coach, who has been better than Mike McCarthy, more recently than Mike McCarthy. For instance, even though Mike Tomlin didn't do great this past season, he got to the Super Bowl. Now, also, people want to say Mike Tomlin and the Steelers have sucked since Ben Roethlisberger's left. That's because you haven't had a quarterback. You get Russell Wilson, an aging Russell Wilson who's not in the prime of his career, not great. You get none other than aging Aaron Rodgers, who might retire this season or might not. Not great, though. Aaron Rodgers is not what he used to be. And so when you look at that, the question you have to ask yourself is it the coach's fault? Was it Mike Tomlin's fault? Or was it the fact that you didn't have a quarterback? Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is super talented, but he's also old. If you expected him to be the prime Aaron Rodgers that he was in the past, that's not going to happen. Same with Russell Wilson. There's a reason why they haven't had tremendous success the last 2 years, and it's because they haven't had a quarterback. I mean, in 2023, they had Mason Rudolph as their starting quarterback. Not great. Not great whatsoever. Actually, Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett. Sorry. Forgot about Kenny Pickett for a second. I was thinking postseason. They had Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett as their quarterback. Not great. The year before in 2022, Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, are we serious? 2021, you had Ben Roethlisberger. So you go from Ben Roethlisberger to Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Mitchell Trubisky, then aging Russell Wilson and aging Aaron Rodgers. I think it's more of a quarterback issue than it is a head coaching issue. Because, yeah, Mike Tomlin, he may not be the best head coach, the best he's been as a head coach throughout his career. But let's be real here. He himself was really good as a head coach when he had a good quarterback. Now, if you give him a good quarterback, maybe he'd be better. Maybe the team would be better because he wouldn't have to worry about the offense as much because he is a defensive guy. Maybe things would pan out the right way, like they did when you had Ben Roethlisberger. For instance, let's say you had Joe Burrow, for instance. Obviously, you're not going to get Joe Burrow, but let's say you had him. You had a quarterback that can run the offense and think for himself and doesn't need a coach breathing down his neck. You have a quarterback that can run the offense, so then all you have to do is worry about running the defense, basically, as a head coach, especially if you're a defensive coach. That's helpful. That's what Ben Roethlisberger was. He knew how to play football. He was smart. He knew what to do. He had offensive coordinator call plays, and then he would check them at the line if he needed to. But let's be real. he knew what he was doing. You didn't have to micromanage every single thing that he did. Now, Aaron Rodgers, you didn't have to do that either. Aaron Rodgers knows what he's doing. The problem is Aaron Rodgers is old. So he's not going to be able to do some of the things he used to be able to do. Now, also, it's not helpful that DK Metcalf didn't have, what was the best season of his career this past season? He wasn't bad, but did not have the best season of his career, I don't think. He only had 850 yards. Like, you get rid of George Pickens, who did really well with the Cowboys, to get DK Metcalf, who had a worse season than he did in 2024, and his worst season of his career, actually, so far, besides his rookie year when he only had 900 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. But this year he had 850 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. So you had DK Metcalf, who wasn't as good as he could have been. Now, Mike Tomlin has had issues with the Steelers throughout the past couple of years. Not succeeding in the playoffs, not winning those playoff games. Getting there, but not winning those playoff games. But so is Mike McCarthy has had those same issues. I mean, look at the Cowboys. When he was with them, he went 1-3 in the playoffs. So you get rid of a coach who couldn't get over the hump and win in the playoffs with a better quarterback than what you have because he's younger. And also, the Steelers right now don't have a quarterback. But let's say they had Aaron Rodgers. I would take Dak Prescott right now over Aaron Rodgers for the purpose of Dak Prescott's not like 45. Is that what Aaron Rodgers is? Aaron Rodgers is 45. Like 42, sorry, not 45. I was about to say 45 seemed high. He's 42, not 45. Dak Prescott is not 42. Dak Prescott is, let's see here. He's 32, 10 years younger. Dak Prescott's 10 years younger, and Mike McCarthy couldn't win a playoff game, could only win one playoff game with the Cowboys with Dak Prescott. So, do you think he could do the same thing in the Steelers with either Aaron Rodgers coming back as your quarterback and not retiring, or are you getting a whole new quarterback in general? Now, if you get a whole new quarterback in general, he has shown that he can develop quarterbacks because he developed Aaron Rodgers. He developed Dak Prescott. I mean, like I said, he won a Super Bowl in 2010 with the Packers, but the thing is, 2010 was such a long time ago that I'm not going to ride a horse on him saying, oh, he won a Super Bowl as a head coach with the Packers in 2010, so he's great. It's a great hire. That's 16 years ago. It's like me saying Bill Belichick's going to win a national championship in college football because he did it with the Patriots in the NFL when he had Tom Brady. Completely different. College football and the NFL are completely different. Bill Belichick could win a national championship someday if he has a talented enough team. But at least this year we saw coaching in college football is a lot harder than he thought it was going to be, and he did not have as much success as we thought he would. It also shows maybe Bill Belichick should have just stayed retired. He retired from the Patriots, and maybe he should have just stayed retired. Because I'm not saying he's a bad coach, he hasn't on a coaching board, but having multiple bad years in a row, sometimes the game passes you by. And I'm not saying that he can't adapt or adjust, but at some point, once you leave, it's time for you to stay away. Maybe not stay away, but stay retired is what I mean by stay away. Because I would love to hear Bill Belichick talk football any day. But I mean, Mike McCarthy, maybe he shouldn't be the head coach of the Steelers. Maybe he should have stayed being retired. He's not that old, but again, won a Super Bowl in 2010, 16 years ago. We're going to ride horse on something he won 16 years ago. Now, he also has playoff success, yes. But since 2020, he's won 1 playoff game and lost 3. And he got fired by the Cowboys because he couldn't win in the playoffs. And that's what the Steelers are looking for, a coach that can win the playoffs. And, well, you got one that had in the past, but hasn't recently, just like you had with Mike Tomlin. So, did you really get a step forward, or did you did you stay the same, or take another step backward even? Ohio State's new OC is Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith is a good OC, in my opinion. You're gonna say, but Josh, did you just talk bad about the Steelers and their offense? And yeah, I did. Also, again, what did they have as weapons? DK Metcalf, okay. What did they have? They had more than DK Metcalf. I know that. But still, he had a 42-year-old quarterback as his starting quarterback. He was the OC of a 42-year-old quarterback, and that was his starting quarterback. He had DK Metcalf as his leading receiver. Then you have Pat Freiermuth as your best tight end, who's not a bad tight end. But it's just like, he didn't have a whole lot. He had Jaylen Warren as the running back. Jaylen Warren's not bad. But again, he didn't have a whole lot to work with. Yeah, Pat Freiermuth, DK Metcalf, Darnell Washington is a tank at tight end. But he had no quarterback. Then people will say, but then look at him when he was a head coach with the Falcons. Okay, for one, look at Matt Patricia at Ohio State. He's a DC there. He didn't quite succeed as a head coach in the NFL, did he? No, he didn't. He actually got fired. He didn't have success at all with the Lions as a head coach, but he was a successful DC with the Patriots. Now, you could say more successful as a Patriots DC than Arthur Smith was as an OCE in the NFL. That's fair. But just look at Matt Patricia. He's doing good in college. I would trust Ryan Day with his hires. He knows what he's doing. He knows who to bring in. I mean, he's trying to bring in an NFL caliber system to his team to make him the best, have the best staff and the best team possible to win more national championships. I mean, if you're a player and your whole goal is to go to the NFL, why wouldn't you go to Ohio State and be developed by two former NFL coordinators and head coaches that know what it takes to get to the NFL and succeed in the NFL? That's my opinion. People say, again, he didn't have success with the Falcons. So first year with the Falcons, who's his quarterback? An aging Matt Ryan. You answered correctly. An aging Matt Ryan. And then his running back, Cordell Patterson. And then who are his receivers? Actually, I don't even know because they weren't relevant. I know who they were, but obviously they're not important because they weren't great. Next year, Kyle Pitts comes. It's Kyle Pitts' rookie year. Who's his quarterback, though? Marcus Mariota. So no aging Matt Ryan, who would be better than not even prime Marcus Mariota, because Marcus Mariota was never in his prime. He never stepped foot into it. You had Marcus Mariota. So you have it's like the ends of the bread. You know, we get a bread loaf, and everyone wants to get to the middle first. Everyone wants to eat the full slices. No one wants to eat the butt ends of the bread. Well, Marcus Mariota is like the butt end of the bread. He's good enough to be in the bag, but he's not what you want as your first piece or as your starter. And that's what Marcus Mariota was. Next year, he had Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Who's his starting quarterback? Desmond Ridder. Oh, how is Desmond Ridder panned out in the NFL? You mean Desmond Ridder that was really good in college, right? He was a high pick in the draft. He should have succeeded, right? He should have won Rookie of the Year, maybe become a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. False. He's not even a backup in the NFL right now. At least I don't think after the Bengals released him, any team picked him up as a backup. He might be on a practice squad somewhere, but again, Desmond Ridder is his quarterback. Wherever he's been, he hasn't had a quarterback, except for in 2019 when he was the OC of the Titans, and I'm pretty sure he still had Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback, and that was not prime Ryan Tannehill, but Ryan Tannehill was not bad by any means, by any stretch necessary. Actually, let's look. Ryan Tannehill, was he the quarterback of the Titans in 2019, and when did his career come to an end with the Titans? But no, that was his quarterback. I mean, and then let's be real. Let's look at who his running back was. Ryan Tannehill was his quarterback. Threw for 2,742 yards, 286 pass attempts, 201 completion, 70.3 completion percentage, with 22 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Like, Ryan Tannehill, not bad. Not terrible. Not great, but not bad. I mean, let's see. How many more years did Ryan Tannehill have left in his career? Because, again, it was an aging Ryan Tannehill. He had 4 more seasons after that. He had 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. And, again, not bad. That was not his best season, but also, let's be real, he played 12 games. He played 12 games that year, threw for 2,742 yards. That's not terrible, because then in 2020, he threw for 3,819. In 2021, 3,734, and they go to the playoffs. Ryan Tannehill is a good quarterback. It wasn't like having Matt Ryan, I would say, at the very, very end of his career. Like, very end of his career. Not even... It's not that it was like the exact end of his career, but he had Matt Ryan in 2021, and then he had his final season in 2022 with the Colts. End of his career. Or having 2 quarterbacks like Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder who were never panned out and never were going to pan out in the NFL. At least the way it looked like. Again, Desmond Ridder and Marcus Mariota, they're the 2 butt ends of the bread. They're good enough to be in the bag, but you don't want them to be their starter. In the middle, you have Ryan Tannehill. Or you have other really good quarterbacks that he's never had. He's always had quarterbacks either at the end of their career or that have come to the NFL out of the draft, really high prospects that have never panned out. Then you also go see with the Titans when he had Derrick Henry in 2019, when Derrick Henry rushed for 2,000 yards. When he was with the OC of the Titans with Ryan Tannehill, who was actually not aging too much yet, and Derrick Henry, he had a phenomenal offense. So why can't he do the same with really good weapons at Ohio State and the best weapons you can get in college football? I think it's a great hire. I think he's going to do really good. I think he has the ability to do really good. But college is different than the NFL, so only time will tell. Obviously, I could say he's going to do really good, and then he could just crap the bed, and that's not my fault. That's his fault for not executing. I think he's going to execute, though. So, again, the Bills plan on elevating Joe Brady from OC to being their next head coach and doing a 5-year deal of Joe Brady being their next head coach. Titans plan on hiring Brian Daboll as their OC. And, again, Shedeur Sanders somehow is in the Pro Bowl. Now, what you've all been waiting for, the Patriots and the Broncos. The Patriots win 10-7. Oh, my, what a lackluster offensive performance for the Patriots, I would say. The Broncos have a phenomenal defense, so don't get me wrong there. I still expected more from the Patriots. I expected them to at least win by 10. Now, you're going to say that's a lot. Yeah, but they have their starting quarterback, Drake May, who only threw for 86 yards, going 10 of 21, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Now, it also got quite cold. It was quite cold, and it did start snowing in the second half, like heavy snow. So you could say, was it the game plan all along was just to manage the game, take the lead, and then just win it because they knew Jarrett Stidham wasn't going to beat them? Jarrett Stidham threw for 17-31, 133 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The interception came at the very end of the game, in a moment when they needed it when they needed to play most to put themselves in field goal range. Now, it also did not help that their kicker missed a whopping 2 field goal attempts, going 0 for 2 throughout the game. You lose by 3. 0 for 2 means 13-10. That's what the score would be. Maybe the Patriots would have lost that game then. If I'm Will Lutz, I would not be having a great day. Now, it also is help that the New England Patriots kicker went 1 of 3 from the field goal, and field goals. He also missed 2. So it would be 16-13 if he made both of his. Snow is not helpful. Cold is not helpful. Sometimes when it's snowing and it's cold, it's hard to kick a football. And it's hard to put it through the uprights and put it exactly where you want. But that was not helpful for that game. That game was a very defensive-heavy game. Bo Nix. I want to say Bo Nix, but again, he didn't play. Jarrett Stidham got sacked 3 times for 31 total yards. And then Drake May got sacked 5 times for a total of 21 yards. Both defenses are relentless. Both are really good. The Patriots defense looked to step up and do the part, but the Broncos defense did look like the best defense in the NFL. The Patriots defense looked like a defense that was going against, well, a backup quarterback and a team that also was missing J.K. Dobbins, who was their starting running back. Because, let's be real, the Broncos only rushed for 79 yards, R.J. Harvey being their lead rusher with 37. When you don't have J.K. Dobbins, who is your best running back and would have been helpful in the game, where you don't have Bo Nix, you have Jarrett Stidham, so you're going to try and run the ball more, and the Patriots know that. So because they know that, they're going to load the run box more. What happened? Well, you know what happens. You lose the game 10-7. The Broncos, however, though, not the Broncos, the Patriots, however, though, they ran for 141 yards, led by Ramondre Stevenson with 71 yards, and then Drake May with 65. Drake May with the rushing touchdown also. So, what are our takeaways from this game? Our takeaways are either the Patriots have to find their offense in the playoffs or they're going to lose in the Super Bowl. Not because they're bad. I don't think they're bad, but their offense has been lackluster the whole playoffs. Now, they've also gone against really good defensive teams. I mean, you play the Texans, the Broncos, and the Chargers all in the playoffs. All really good defensive teams. You scored 28 against the Texans. But you also had to get 5 turnovers. Or 4 turnovers. 5 turnovers, I think. What was the total number to win that game? Only by 12. Winning 28-16. This game, you go against a team without their starting quarterback, so you should win by more than 3. And you go against one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the NFL, in the Broncos, and you only score 10. Then you go against the Chargers, who win 16-3, and you win against 16-3 against them, and they also have a really good defense. The Seahawks have a good defense. Do you expect to be able to put up only 10 points on the Seahawks and win? Now, you probably will put up more than 10 points on the Seahawks. You also get a whole 2 weeks to prepare for that Super Bowl. Because obviously you have Pro Bowl weekend and then you have the Super Bowl. And so you have time to prepare for that Super Bowl before, but it's like, serious? Am I seriously confident to say I want to pick the Patriots to win the Super Bowl when their offense has been lackluster in the playoffs? Again, 28 points total as a team against the Texans when the Texans had 5 turnovers. Now, you yourself had 3 or 4. But, again, lackluster a little bit because, you also had yourselves those 3 fumbles by Drake May. And then against the Chargers, only 16 points. Against the Broncos here, 10. Your offense needs to perform at a higher level. Specifically, your pass game needs to perform at a higher level than it did against the Broncos. Only throwing for 86 yards, going 10-21 is not going to win you the Super Bowl against the Seahawks. But you know what will win you the Super Bowl against the Seahawks? The defense that you have. Because the defense has held the Chargers to 3. It held the Texans, who are struggling offense themselves, to 16. Held the Broncos without Bo Nix to 7. With Bo Nix, might have been more. But your defense has been phenomenal. They've stepped up. It will be a lot warmer where the Super Bowl is. It will be a lot warmer out there in, what is it, LA? I think is where the Super Bowl will be. It will be a lot warmer than it was in Colorado. So, with that being said, your offense should wake up a little bit more. Your offense should wake up a little bit more. It will be in Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. Must be nice. And it is the home of the San Francisco 49ers team. So if only the 49ers would have beat the Seahawks and then won in the NFC Championship to be in the Super Bowl, because then they'd be playing in their home stadium. But we saw they went for Miami in the National Championship. They didn't quite win the National Championship. So maybe it would not have went the same way for the 49ers. But no, you have to have a better offensive performance if you want to beat the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Next game, you also have, again, the Seattle Seahawks beating the Rams 31-27. This time they did not need lightning in a bottle. They did not need a miracle to happen. This was not no miracle in football. It wasn't like back in it wasn't back on the Miracle on Ice. There was no miracle that needed to happen. You guys won. You won straight up. You didn't have the ball going off of someone's helmet into the end zone for a touchdown. You guys won. You guys beat the Rams, and you're going to the Super Bowl. How would you feel? Well, you're playing the Patriots again. Now, the thing is, you don't have Tom Brady. They don't have Tom Brady. You don't have prime Russell Wilson. So you should feel pretty good about yourself. You have the more experienced quarterback in this, and Sam Darnold, but he's the less talented quarterback. Drake May's more talented. They have the young, promising quarterback with the Patriots, Drake May, who has a young, promising career. You have Sam Darnold, who struggled early on in his career and is shining late. But guess what? You got the job done against Matthew Stafford, who is having one of the best seasons of his career and a MVP-like season. Matthew Stafford went 22-35 in this game, throwing for 374 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He only got sacked once for 9 yards. Problem: Matthew Stafford fumbled the ball once, Colby Parkinson fumbled the ball once, and Xavier Smith fumbled the ball twice. Actually, I don't think Colby Parkinson fumbled the ball once. I think he might have recovered a fumble. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. No, he did fumble the ball once. Yeah, sorry. I can't read. And then Xavier Smith had 2 fumbles, 1 loss, 1 recovered. Not beneficial there. And then Kevin Dotson recovered 1 fumble for you, but not beneficial there. That was some turnovers that you guys couldn't have. Sam Darnold also had a fumble. That was recovered, though. A.J. Barner had a fumble. And then Derek Young recovered that said fumble. I'm pretty sure. So, you look at their turnovers. Yeah, you turn the Rams turned over the ball just a little bit more. They struggled a little bit in this game. What also did not help was Sam Darnold throwing 25-36, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns, matching Matthew Stafford basically. And then Kenneth Walker running for 62 yards, 1 touchdown. Kenneth Walker can run. I mean, when I'm watching him, it's just here, there, everywhere. I mean, he only averaged 3.3 yards, but he's fast, he's physical, he gets downhill, he does what he needs to do when he needs to do it to help his team win. There's a reason why he is a good running back. Jackson Smith-Njigba almost tried to pull off one of the best performances of his career. Well, this is the best performance of his career in the NFL, but one of his best performances of his football career, like he did in the Rose Bowl for Ohio State against Utah. He went 10 catches for 153 yards and 1 touchdown. Very similar almost to his almost like highly electric, would I say, Rose Bowl performance in 2021? Was it 2021? that he gashed Utah and went for almost 200 yards? Yes, it was. Let's see. Again, 2021 against Utah, he put up an astounding 347 receiving yards, 15 catches, 3 touchdowns. Again, he almost tried to replicate that performance because he had over 100 yards, I think, by at halftime against the Rams. He finished off with 153 yards ish, 153 yards, and 1 touchdown. Then Rashid Shaheed had 51 yards. You had Kenneth Walker with 49, Cooper Kupp with 36 and a touchdown. Then the Rams, you have Puka Nacua with 165 yards, 1 touchdown. Devontae Adams, 89 yards and a touchdown. Kyron Williams with, 22 yards and a touchdown. Where was this game won and lost? It was won and lost probably in the trenches. When it comes to offensive defensive line, just like how it always is, but also in the turnover column. You also have the Rams making two field goals to the Seattle's 1, but Seattle's making 4 extra points to the Rams 3. But where does it come down to? The Rams, you would say, if I told you Rashid Shaheed did not have a returning touchdown whatsoever, punting or kicking, what would you think happened? You would have thought the Rams won. Well, you would be wrong because you had 1 less rushing touchdown. That's where the game came down to. The Rams made more field goals than Seattle did. They had the same amount of passing touchdowns, but one team had Kenneth Walker, and one team did not. And Kenneth Walker put the ball in the end zone when Seattle needed him to do it most, and they will be moving on to the Super Bowl. Mike McDonald has done a phenomenal job as a Seattle Seahawks head coach. And Sam Darnold has done a good job the last years. He has shown that he is a quarterback, that he can be a franchise quarterback in the NFL throughout his last, 2 years and being with Minnesota and being with Seattle, and showed that he can win and help a team win and do what he needs to do. Is he the best quarterback in the NFL? No. But he's shown he can do what he needs to do to help a team win. Now, let's go to college basketball. We will discuss the Super Bowl throughout this upcoming week and next week, leading up to it next Thursday being our pick for that game in that video right before the Super Bowl. But now we have college basketball. What's better to start with than Tennessee versus Alabama and the whole Charles Bediako situation? Tennessee wins 79-73. Now, if you haven't heard, Charles Bediako is a former G League player who has signed multiple NBA two-way contracts. I don't know if he's played an NBA game. I do know that he has played in the G League. He also played in college basketball originally, meaning he was at Alabama in 2021, 2022, and 2022 and 2023. Then he declared for the draft. He doesn't get drafted. He signs a G League contract. Eventually, he signs multiple NBA two-way contracts with the NBA and the G League. And he might have played an NBA game. He might not. I don't think he did. But what happens? Well, he decides he wants to come back to college basketball after being gone for multiple years and deciding, hey, I wanted to go pro. I wanted to go to the NBA draft. I'm good enough. I'm going to get drafted, right? No, you're not good enough. You're not going to get drafted. You're not even going to play in the NBA. You're going to play in the G League. You're signed NBA two-way contracts, but you're never going to have success enough to play in the NBA. Oh, I want to go back to college now. Well, he does. The NCAA has ruled him ineligible. But they're fighting that ruling. There's a court case that's going to happen. It was supposed to happen later. It was supposed to happen today, I'm pretty sure, actually. But they can't meet today. So it's going to happen, I think, either later this week or early next week about him deciding if he will become eligible or not. And but he was granted a temporary restraining order by a judge in Alabama so he could play against Tennessee and play until his court case, which would have just been against that Tennessee game. And maybe today, I think. But no. He was granted a temporary restraining order by a judge in Alabama. You want to know what that judge does? He donates money to the University of Alabama. He likes the University of Alabama. Does that not sound a little weird? You have a player that's deemed ineligible. The NCAA won't let him play. He's fighting that ruling. And then all of a sudden, a judge gives him a temporary restraining order so he can play until his hearing because, Why not? I put money in their pockets. They asked me for a favor. Why won't I do a favor for him? I'm not saying they asked him for the favor. I'm not saying they asked him to grant the temporary restraining order. But, I mean, he donates money to the University of Alabama. Does it not sound a little bad and a little biased and not impartial whatsoever if you're going to then give him a temporary restraining order and say, hey, you, come play. Here's a temporary restraining order. You can play until they rule you eligible. It's just a little weird. It's a little fishy. It's a little weird. I'm not saying it's fishy meaning that he did anything wrong, meaning he took a bribe, because I don't think he took a bribe. I don't think they had to bribe him with anything. They just said, hey, he has a court case, and he might be clear eligible, but might not be. Right now he's ineligible. Could you give him a temporary restraining order so he can play? And he'd be like, yeah, sure, why not? That's all it could be. It's nothing wrong with that either. I'm just saying it's a little biased. Especially when it's a judge that's in Alabama that donates money to Alabama, granting him that case. Now you're going to say, why is it a big deal? It's a totally big deal. He's 6'11", 225, played in college basketball 2 years ago. If he wouldn't have went to the NBA, he would have graduated last year in the 2024-2025 season. And that would have been his last season in college basketball. Now he's back in. And the problem is, the NCAA has 3 rules of eligibility. You have to be, 5 years removed from high school. He is not, obviously, because he graduated high school, I think, in 2020. 2021 is 2026. So I guess he's 5 years removed from high school. Except I don't think he is. I think he is a lot further out of high school. I don't think he graduated high school back in 2021, if I am mistaken. But let's find out when he graduated high school. He graduated high school in the class of 2021. So yeah, 5 years ago, I guess you could say. So this must be his last year. So he is 5 years removed from high school. So there's one check mark to Charles Bediako. But where there aren't going to be check marks is you cannot have played in an NBA game or be signed to a professional contract, an NBA contract. And he signed multiple NBA contracts, signing multiple two-way contracts, which violates the NCAA's eligibility. So he's been deemed ineligible, and technically, Alabama played an ineligible player that has been ruled ineligible by the NCAA, which is technically cheating. So let's say the court rules him ineligible also, and they side with the NCAA, which is very rare because the NCAA has no power. They don't have a spine because the conferences that we have with the conference commissioners have kind of taken away the power from the NCAA because, let's be real, they want to go. They want to side with the conferences, an example, because the conferences are their commodity. If you lose the conferences, you lose your commodity. You have no spine to go by. You have to go with what the conferences want. Also, they don't have a lot of power anymore because of the conferences. The conferences hold all the power. The power is within the conferences. They decide everything. The NCAA is kind of a governing body that watches over it, but they don't have a spine to stand by because that spine's not existing anymore. They used to have a spine, but then once they get power to conferences, the spine disappeared. Now they can do some things, but their spine is no longer there. It's kind of invisible. For them to get their spine back, they need to take power away from the conferences and the conference commissioners and put it back in the hand of just the NCAA, the organization itself, which is never going to happen. At least it won't for a long time. What they need to do is like what they've been talking about doing in college football, is getting a commissioner. By getting a commissioner for all of college sports, and a commissioner that commissions the conferences. So there's a commissioner that watches over the ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12 all in one. And then all of them smaller conferences too, all in one. Instead of it just being individual conferences that look out for their own good, that then have conference commissioners that then talk about amongst each other and come up with ideas amongst each other. But that is neither here nor there. Charles Bediako plays in his first game. He gets 13 points. But the best player for Alabama was LeBaron Fine with 26 points. Latrell Wrightson with 14. They shot 43% from the field, 23% from the three-point line, 71% from the free throw line. They're a team that needs to make their threes, especially when they're shooting them, because they shot 26. They only went 6 of 26. They can make the threes, but if they don't, they're going to struggle. And they did against Tennessee. Tennessee was led by none other than star freshman Nate Amen with 29 points. 10 of 20 from the field, 2 of 3 from the three-point line, 7 of 9 from the free throw line. Jacoby Gillespie with 24 points, going 8 of 20 from the field, and 2 of 9 from the three-point line. So He did not do great from the three-point line himself, but his team didn't do terrible. As a whole, though, those were really the two biggest key contributors for Tennessee. You have Bishop Boswell with 8, J.P. Estrella with 6, Felix Akpar with 5, and then you have them shooting 47% from the field, 33% of the three-point line, going 16 of 18. 6 of 18, sorry, not 16 of 18, 6 of 18. They tied Alabama in how many attempts they made, even though they took 8 less attempts. And then they shot 68% from the free throw line, going 17 of 25, tying Alabama again with 17 free throws. So it comes down to field goals made. They made 3 more than Alabama, and they win the game by 6 points, 3 twos, 3 more field goals. They also out-rebounded Alabama 42-33. So even though they brought in Charles Bediako, who's 6'11", guess what? Couldn't do nothing for you. You know, Tennessee even... everyone's been making fun of Alabama. Todd Golden has called out Alabama, saying, you know what, whether they even if they need him to win, they're not going to. Florida will beat Alabama, and I think they play tonight. I think. So we'll actually find out if Todd Golden was correct. But Tennessee's social media called out Charles Bediako's former G League team and saying they're next, and they're going to play them next and beat them too. It's a bad look for college basketball when you have a player not because he's coming back from the G League to college basketball, because he was in college basketball before. Then he decided to leave college basketball to go play professional basketball. Didn't get drafted, but played in the G League, signed 2 NBA two-way contracts, so he could get called up to the NBA if he wanted to, if he was still under those contracts. And if he was good enough, not if he wanted to, if they wanted to call him up, sorry. He could get called up to the NBA if they wanted to call him up, if he was good enough, when he was still under those contracts. Now wanting to come back to college basketball because he realized he wasn't good enough to play professional basketball. And so he just wants to collect some money in college basketball and then maybe get another shot being drafted. That's not how that works. That's ruining college sports. That's ruining college basketball. For instance, there's a G League player at Baylor. I was against him coming back to college, coming not back to college basketball, coming to college basketball. But the difference is he never played in college basketball. He also never signed an NBA two-way contract. So technically, the NCAA declared him eligible and deemed him eligible because there was no they didn't want to go to court over it, and then B, he fit the criteria. Because for instance, you'll talk about all these European players that are playing professional basketball in Europe. People say they're getting paid. Some of them are getting paid millions. The ones that are getting paid millions to play in Europe are staying in Europe. They're not coming to college basketball. None of the ones that are coming to college basketball are getting paid millions. The ones that are coming to college basketball want to come to college basketball because they want a better chance of getting drafted. And so they come back to college. They come to college basketball, play for 1 or 2 years, then they get drafted. Also, NIL is worth it at that point. And so you see it from that standpoint of, okay, so what's wrong with Charles Bediako? The difference is Charles Bediako signed NBA contracts. He might not have played in the NBA. He might have been NBA two-way contract, so he could play in the G League instead of the NBA. But he signed NBA contracts. He has signed a professional contract with the NBA. European players, they're most of the leagues that players are coming from are either on the same level as college basketball or just below it. And those players have not signed contracts where they're making millions of dollars. They have signed contracts where they're playing with the team, yes, and they might be getting taken care of when it comes to food and housing, but they're not making a lot of money. They're not getting paid a lot. So they want to come to college, play for a year, and then try and work and get drafted by the NBA and go to the NBA and succeed. So you're starting to see more Europeans come to college basketball. You're starting to see some G Leaguers come to college basketball. Again, difference is, though, Charles Bediako signed an NBA contract, which is a clear no-no to the NCAA. It's against their rules of eligibility. And if you declare him eligible, you're just saying there's no rules anymore. And then the basketball becomes even more the Wild West than it already is. And you see players coming back, like, for instance, let's say Cameron Boozer declares for the draft after this year. He gets drafted first over by the Washington Wizards. They're going to pay him handsomely. Let's say he doesn't want to go to the Washington Wizards because they suck. He decides, hey, I want to rule for another year of eligibility in college basketball and go back to Duke until a team that I like has the first overall pick in the draft. It sets a terrible precedent for that, but it also sets up a terrible way to where the rules in college basketball will no longer matter because there will be no rules in college basketball because you already defied them once for a guy like Charles Bediako. You can do it again then for anybody else. It's just not smart. Once you play in college basketball and declare for the draft, and unless you pull your name out of the draft by the proper deadline, you are stuck in the draft and you're going to play professional basketball. Charles Bediako did not pull his name from the draft. He went to the draft. He went undrafted, and he played professional basketball. He should not be allowed to come back to college basketball. That's also a big difference. The players that are coming from Europe, they're high school age. They're 19, they're 20, they're 18. They're not 24 like Charles Bediako is. I don't think he's 24, but he's older than all of them. He's 23 in his third year of college basketball. Decide I want to come back to college basketball. You're a grown man. Move on with your life. I'm 21. I have 1 year left of college. I'll graduate at the age of 22. He is older than me by 2 years, and he wants to come back and play college basketball. You're a grown man. Either go and try and succeed in professional basketball or find something else to do. Let's be real. The European players, they're not 23 when they're coming over. They're 20, maybe 19, maybe 18. And if they're 20, most of them get deemed 2 years of eligibility. Also, they never played in college, then declared for the NBA draft, and then decided once they were playing professional basketball, they weren't in the NBA because they weren't good enough that they want to go back to college. They never did either. Dink Pate is a good example of this. Dink Pate hasn't been deemed eligible with college eligibility yet, but he's 95% sure he will. And if he does, he'll go and play at Kentucky. The difference is, though, he committed to the G League Ignite when they had it. But then all of a sudden, the NBA disbands the G League Ignite while he's been there for a year or two. I think it was there for a year. They disbanded the G League Ignite because of NIL in college and it being a thing, so they no longer need the G League Ignite because that's what it was there for. It was a way for players that didn't want to go to college but wanted to play basketball professionally and go to the NBA draft, but wanted to get paid to play basketball because they weren't getting in college. They went to the G League Ignite team. They would sign with the G League Ignite team. They'd have to fight. They'd play in the G League for a year or two. Then they go to the draft and they get drafted. It's like playing college, except you're not playing on a college team. You're playing on the G League. You're playing on a G League team, and you're getting paid to do it because NIL wasn't a thing in college yet. Then NIL becomes a thing in college, so they have to get rid of the G League Ignite, not because it's not gonna they're not gonna be able to do anything with it, but because it's not gonna be successful anymore because players are gonna say, oh, now I can get paid in college, so I might as well go to college. And so I don't have to go to the G League Ignite team anymore. And so they disbanded it. No longer a thing. G League Ignite head coach becomes an assistant coach at Kentucky. He's not the associate head coach or the assistant head coach. He's the assistant coach at Kentucky. And now you have this scenario where you have Dink Pate wanting to come back to college, wanting to come to college basketball, never playing college basketball. He was given the opportunity to decide to go play with the G League Ignite. And he was going to be there for 2 to 4 years. And then go to the draft and get drafted. The thing is, though, they disbanded after him being there for a year or two. So he should, in my opinion, have the ability to come to college basketball because when he was with the G League, if he would have known that they would have been gone after a year or two when he was with the G League Ignite team, he would have decided to come to college basketball instead. Now, he did enter the draft, and he did go undrafted, I think, and he went undrafted. But he's never signed an NBA two-way contract, I don't think. That's where the difference is. He hasn't signed any NBA contract, and he hasn't played in an NBA game. He has said himself he has held off on signing NBA two-way contracts because to hold his college eligibility. He's also only 19. He's not 23. If he gets declared eligible, he'll get 2 years of eligibility most likely. Not 2 more at the age of 23, but 2 at the age of 19, meaning he'd be done at 21 or 22. Slight difference, though, there, again, with him and Charles Bediako. Because, again, Charles Bediako has signed NBA two-way contracts. He has not. He also never played in college basketball before and then decided, I'm not doing so good in the NBA. I want to come back to college basketball. Charles Bediako did that. And maybe in the essence of he didn't do good in the NBA, he wasn't good enough to be in the NBA, so he was in the G League. Next off, you have Illinois winning against Purdue 88-82, led by Keaton Wagler with 46 points. You would think it's Swagler with the way it's spelled, but it's Wagler. Going 13-17 from the field, 9-11 from the three-point line, 11-13 from the free throw line. You would think he was forcing stuff. No, he was just being efficient. He didn't force anything. If he forced stuff, he would have had over 50 points. He didn't force anything. He was just being efficient and taking what the defense gave him, and they gave him a whole lot. David Mirkovic had 12 points, going 4-7 from 2 of 4 from the three-point line. And again, the story really is Keaton Wagler. I almost said Wagler. Keaton Wagler. He's a freshman. He was ranked 150th in the nation on 247, somewhere around there. 250th in the nation on the composite rankings, where they combine on 3, 247, ESPN, and Rivals all into one, and they kind of take the composite ranking of everything. So how does he go from being underrated like that to dropping 46 points in a college game? Well, this freshman class is outstanding. That is how. He also developed really well. Brad Underwood knew what he got because he said when he got him, he said he could be a draft pick, he could be a lottery pick. After his freshman season when he was there, they knew what he had. They knew he was good. They never undersold him. But we did not think he was going to be that good coming out of high school. He has been phenomenal. Braden Smith led Purdue with 27 points, going 11 of 16 from the field, 2 of 3 from the three-point line. Trey Coffin ran that at 12. Oscar Clough had 9. C.J. Cox had 6. Fletcher Lawyer had 6. If you wanted to win this game for Purdue, you're going to need Fletcher Lawyer to step up. That's the thing with Purdue. Omar Meyer had 11 off the bench in what was one of his better games of the season, averaging 5.7 points as a freshman when you thought he was going to be a lot better. You had higher expectations for him and higher expectations for Purdue. But Fletcher Lawyer has to be consistently good for you guys to be the best you can be. He has to average his 12.7. When he averages 6, which is less than half of his 12.7, he's not going to be as good as he possibly can be. He's not going to be able to help you win games. And you need him to be consistent. But the thing is, this has kind of been who he's been throughout his whole career. So if we expected him to be more, is that our fault? No, because we expect players to develop as they get better. And he hasn't necessarily gotten worse. He's just been the same throughout his whole career and hasn't really developed. So, again, you need him to be more of a superstar than he is. Trey Coffin also had foul trouble with 4 fouls, so that's not helpful when he averages 12 points a game, 8.6 rebounds. He got you 12 points, but he only got you 2 rebounds. That's not going to help you. Now, it also isn't helpful he had to go against Tomislav Ivičić in the post, because Tomislav Ivičić got those 8 rebounds, and he only had 7 points, and he had some foul trouble a little bit there, but Tomislav Ivičić is also just huge. While he only swayed and scored until late in the game, making his first field goal being a 3 late in the game, he's still a good player. Next, you have Texas Tech beating Houston 90-86. It's like whenever Houston has to go to Texas Tech, go to Lubbock, Texas, it's always a nail in their coffin. It's always a game on their schedule that's going to be tough when it's going to be a nail-biter. And they have lost, the last 2 years at Texas Tech? This time they were led by another freshman who's a star, Kingston Flemings, with 42 points. If it wasn't for Keaton Wadler, it would be Kingston Flemings, who we're only talking about, going 15 of 26 from the field, 4 of 9 from the three-point line, 8 of 10 from the free throw line. He is phenomenal. Emmanuel Sharp also had 20 points. Milos Uzan had 6. Joseph Togo had 4. Chris Knight Jr. had 2. Your team shot 48% from the field. Houston shot 40% from the field, 39% from the three-point line, 81% from the free throw line, getting 28 rebounds, getting out-rebounded 44-28. That is a game in itself. If you don't give up those 14 rebounds, guess what? You probably win that game because you only lost by 4. And rebounds can lead to second chances, or they can lead to more possessions. Texas Tech was led by J.T. Toppin with 31 points. Jalen Petty with 18. Donovan Atwell with 18. Christian Anderson with 12. Christian Anderson didn't even have to have his best game. He had 9 assists, which is great and phenomenal. But he didn't have 20 points like he might normally have. But that's because the rest of his team stepped up and performed. You have Donovan Atwell getting 18, Jalen Petty getting 18. Neither of them average 18 points a game. Donovan Atwell averages 12 points a game, and his average has been going up. Jalen Petty averages 9, so he doubled his average, getting 18. So seeing that happen, you got more production from your starters besides J.T. Toppin and Christian Anderson, which is what Texas Tech needs if they want to succeed. And if they do that, they're a top 10 team in the country, and they're a team that can win a national championship, at least compete for a national championship and go to a Final Four. If they can have the starters besides J.T. Toppin and Christian Anderson also give up consistent performances and consistent production, like they did here tonight, getting 18 points from Jalen Petty and Donovan Atwell. They shot 44 from the field, 41% from the three-point line, 80% from the free throw line. Again, the game was won and lost on the rebounds. And they out-rebounded Houston by 16. Sorry, not 14 or 12, 16. That is a giant margin. They also had 7 more assists than Houston. So, again, a giant assist margin advantage there to them, and that leads Texas Tech to a win. They are a phenomenal team. They're a good team. North Carolina beats Virginia 85-80. You have Michigan beating Ohio State 74-62, and was a close game. UConn beating Villanova 75-67. Auburn beating Florida 76-67. Arkansas coming back and winning against LSU after being down 37-33.5, 85-81. And then yesterday we have Arizona beating BYU 86-83. BYU had a chance to tie the game up late with a 3, and Robert Wright III missed it. He missed it. badly. And so, again, you look at it, and the question is, how good is Arizona? Well, they're the best team in the country. And they're the best team in the country for a reason. They are phenomenal. They are straight up phenomenal. So, how good are they? Really good. Sorry, by the way, Robert Wright had the chance to take the shot. He dribbles once. He has a chance to get 2 dribbles off. He shoots beyond half court. He misses. That was after Braden Burries made 2 of 2 from the free throw line to extend it to a 3-point game, and also Braden Burries fouling to get the game to put BYU kind of back in the game, because Arizona was up almost double digits with like a couple minutes left, and they were up about 7 or 8 with like 50 seconds left. But fouls and buckets led to BYU being back in the game, and eventually they had a chance to win it, and they did not. BYU was led by A.J. DeMonte with 24 points, Richie Sanders with 18, Kennard Davis with 17, Rob Wright III with 7, and then off the bench they had Costi with 6, and Boscovi with 5. And then also, Keba Keita had 6 also. And 8 rebounds. Keba Keita did not have his best game as a whole, but he wasn't terrible. They went 40% from the field, 38% from the three-point line, 63% from the free throw line, being out-rebounded 37-39. So they had 37 rebounds, Arizona had 39. Arizona was led by none other than star freshman sensation Braden Burries with 29 points, Jaden Bradley with 26, Kopit had 10, Ivan Karchenkov had 10, Mateus Krivas had 2. Off the bench, you have Toby Awaka with 9, Anthony Del Orso, who I would have thought would have been a 6th Man of the Year candidate earlier on in the year, has cooled off a little bit and is now averaging only 8.4 points a game. He had 0 points there. Earlier in the year, he was averaging around 14 to 16 points a game, I'm pretty sure, maybe 12. But earlier in the year, he was doing a lot better than that. But Kopit only has 10 points, 3 rebounds. He has some foul trouble, 4 fouls. At the end of the game, Braden Burries also had 4 fouls. But the thing is, he didn't have to be special when Braden Burries goes off 29 points. Sorry, Braden Burries had 2 fouls. Jaden Bradley had 4 fouls. I can't read sometimes. I went to elementary school, but sometimes I forget. High school, didn't learn how to read properly, I guess. Kopit again had 10 points. You didn't need him to be star sensation Kopit. You didn't need him to average 20 points a game or to win this game. You didn't need him to get 20 points a game to win this game. You needed someone else to step up, and Braden Burries stepped up. He's averaging 15.2. Kopit's averaging 14.5 or 14.8, something like that. And both of them, one of them's going to do good, one of them's not sometimes. And when that's the case, the other one steps up and has a 20-plus point game. And in this scenario, Braden Burries had a 29-point game. And then Jaden Bradley had 26 points. So Jaden Bradley's been consistent and been consistently the leader of this team, averaging 14 points a game, consistently good in games that they need him to be good, especially in the big games. Arizona stays undefeated. They have a still tough schedule remaining, having to play BYU again later on in the year. They have to play at Kansas, home against Texas Tech, home against BYU, at Houston, at Baylor, home against Kansas, home against Iowa State. They have a tough schedule remaining, but Arizona and Tommy Lloyd are the number 1 team in the nation, and they look like the best team and the team to win the national championship. The question is, how long will they remain undefeated? Will they be the last remaining undefeated team, or will it be Nebraska or Miami of Ohio? You also have Duke beating the Louisville Cardinals. Duke was led by none other than Cameron Boozer. Who would have thought? One of the twins, and it's the better twin, leading them. Also, a player that's projected to be one of the potential number 1 overall picks in the draft. He has 19 points, going 8 of 16 from the field, 1 of 4 from the three-point line, 2 of 4 from the free throw line with 10 rebounds. Patrick Ngongba had 15 points, Isaiah Evans had 15, Caleb Foster had 7, Dame Sarr had 2. Off the bench, you have Nicholas Kamina with 14 and Caden Boozer with 7. You shot 41% from the field, 35% from the three-point line, 72% from the free throw line. Duke looked really good. They looked solid. Embarrassing Louisville, winning 83-52. Out-rebounding Louisville almost by 20. It was actually by 21, so it's better than 20. 47-26. They make Louisville look like a chicken with its head cut off. Louisville shot 30% from the field, 32% from the three-point line, and 69% from the free throw line. They were led by none other than Ryan Collin with 18. Michael Brown Jr. had 7. He was phenomenal earlier on in the year, but coming back from his injury, where he missed about a month and a half of basketball or whatnot, coming back from his back injury and his back issues, he has not looked as up to par in this game, or I would say in the games being back since injury, because let's see, he's been back for 2 games. First game, 20 points against Virginia Tech. So not bad. This game, though, 7. So he looked up the par against Virginia Tech, but did not look up the par against Duke. And against a better team and a tough team, and a team that might be a top 3 team in the country. Might be. Just might. Then off their bench, they only had total 6 points. Vali Khalifa with 3 and Adrian Woolley 3. You need more production off your bench if you're going to want to win. Adrian Woolley was a guy they were hoping to average double digits coming in, as he averaged 18.8 points at Kennesaw State last year. He's only averaging 9.3 right now, and he needs more. You need more consistency from him. But the problem for Louisville is they try to get either a lot of their production from the 3-point line, and if that doesn't succeed, then they don't succeed. They shot 54 attempts from the field, and 34 of those attempts were from the 3-point line, meaning they only had 22s. And when they make 30% of their shots, so they make 16 field goals, 11 threes, 4 twos, it does not lead to a recipe for success. That leads to you losing 83 to 52 and getting blown out by the Duke Blue Devils. And is Louisville frauds? Did they peak too early? Did they peak earlier in the season, or are they just dealing with injury issues? What is up with Louisville? Maybe they peaked too early. Maybe they were too good back in November and December. Or maybe them losing Michael Brown Jr. to an injury and him just coming back is affecting them, and they'll be really good again by the end of the season. I am a little out on Louisville at that point of them becoming the team that most people we thought they could be coming into the season, because Michael Brown Jr. is dealt with injury. You don't know if he'll come back, for one. And then 2, even then, relying that heavily on the 3-point line with over 50% of your shots coming from the 3-point line, it's not productive. That is not a winning recipe, and that's not what you want if you're a Louisville Cardinal fan. Or if you're a Louisville Cardinal and player and coach. That is not what you want. That's not a recipe to success, as we see them losing by over 31 points. Tonight in college basketball, you have Kentucky at Vanderbilt in what could be a phenomenal game at 9 p.m. Michigan State at Rutgers. Nebraska at Michigan, which will be a phenomenal game on Peacock at 7. Will Nebraska stay undefeated? I don't know. Will Kentucky beat Vanderbilt and win? What is it? Their 6th in a row, I think, or 5th in a row? I think it's 6 in a row if they win, because they just beat Ole Miss for the 5th. Will they stay hot? Will they win against Vanderbilt? Or will they maybe beat Vanderbilt and Arkansas in the same week on the road? Will Arkansas beat Oklahoma on the road today? Virginia at Notre Dame, Providence and UConn, George Washington and St. Louis, Missouri and Alabama, Purdue and Indiana, and Massachusetts and Miami, Ohio. So UMass plays Miami, Ohio. Miami, Ohio. Can they stay undefeated? Can they stay undefeated? Then tomorrow you have Butler and St. John's, Houston, TCU, Florida, and South Carolina. And Thursday you have Colorado and Iowa State, Washington, and Illinois. Boys, sports are exciting. It's a great time. It's a great time of the year. College basketball is continuing to ramp up. Conferences are getting to be more exciting. We're about halfway through the conference season so far. And the closer we get to the end, the closer we get to conference championships, the closer we get to March Madness. And what is beautiful about college basketball in the tournament and the NCAA tournament and March Madness and crowning a national champion. We have the Olympics starting next Friday on February 6th. Then 3 days after that, you have, or even some teams sooner, you have a lot of teams in the MLB starting calling players to spring training, having pitchers report, catchers report, and World Baseball Classic players report. The world of sports just continues to get exciting. As the Super Bowl we get closer to the Super Bowl, and the NFL season comes closer to an end, new sports seasons start to rise like a phoenix from the ashes for their next season. That will be exciting and fun to watch. Sports never cease to amaze us. They're always great. They're always fun to talk about. Make sure you talk about something with your friends or family, sports or not sports. But make sure you tell them you love them. God bless you guys. That's Game Talk 24/7. Thank you guys for watching.